Welcome to a new edition of ATM Bros. We're so good, we don't need a time machine with our picks. We got Sammy the Hammer for you guys here. So, Sam, what are we talking about? What are we doing today for you guys with the fantasy knowledge here at Regan's Corner?
Well, we're going to bring two fantasy masterminds, in my opinion, and we're going to talk about a lot of things. First thing we're going to get into is where we think Davin Cook is going to land. And I think there's a couple options. Josh, you go ahead and start if you want and see where you think he's going to land. And then
I got a plan A, a plan B, but I think plan B is where he ends up. Okay. I think he goes into that running back graveyard with Bill Belichick and that Patriots offense. It makes Mac Jones look really good this year. Um, but I think he's going to be a Patriot. I hope he's a Dolphin, but I think he's going to be a Patriot.
Yep. I hate to say I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I'm going to say my number one landing spot would be the Dolphins, just because that's what I probably want the most. It may not be the most likely, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins, and I think it's going to shock everybody because I do see the Patriots as the number one. He seems like not a running back everybody would really want right now for a long season type contract, and I think the running back graveyard, like you said, seems like it's going to happen. But I could also see possibly the Bills.
Ooh, pairing with Josh Allen and then that I don't know
And
what's happening with Diggs in that situation, but pairing with Josh Allen, oh my
and
goodness.
and would be there. His brother's running back right now there, and I think having two Cooks on the same team might be pretty deadly. But
Absolutely. James Cook and Dalvin Cook, I mean, they'd be cooking all day long, gumbo and whatever. They'll be going through benches, they'll be going through tables. Yeah, and possibly a Super Bowl if they don't choke like Jim Kelly's Bills. But anyway, let's go what the people wanted the most. Our top 10 of the running back position. Sam, started off at 10.
we're working backwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go 10 and then go to 1.
Well, I think my number 10 running back, I think I'm going to go with this one is probably going to get some backlash. No, actually, I think people could agree with me. I'm going to go with Tony Pollard at number 10. I
Okay.
think I think Tony Pollard honestly could be higher than top 10, but I'm sure a lot of people have him lower, honestly. But I think he's going to be a workhorse. I think we saw how good he was, and Zeke kind of was there to steal some touches, but Zeke's no longer there. And they're going to be running the ball a lot more this year. And Tony Pollard, with the right production, he's going to put up the right numbers. So I got him at number 10.
Absolutely. And mine, people are going to kind of look at me cross-eyed, but I'm going to go Bijan Robinson. Most people have him as third as high, but he's a rookie. He's not proven in the league, but what he did in college puts him up here in the top 10. Um, just the way he ran at Texas. And that they're going to run and run and run and run in Atlanta. So I would say he's probably a top 10 running back in your fantasy drafts. But I'm not going to put him in the top 5.
So number 9, this one is an if. It's not for sure, but well, Yeah. So this one is an if at number 9. I'm gonna say number 9, a Dolphins Dalvin Cook.
Okay, okay.
Now
That's
I can't really complete that because it's not done yet, but I want to put a Dolphins Dalvin Cook at number 9 if I can
okay.
do that.
I'm gonna go Najee Harris
Okay.
at
I
number
could
9.
see that. I think he's a little bit I think getting surgery on his foot and being healthy now, he's due for a better year than he was last year.
Right.
But with him being hurt last year, his backup was able to produce, and I also liked what I saw from his backup. So he's kind of somebody I'm I'm watching carefully. You know.
Very carefully on Harris, but it could be also a Derrick Henry like kind of comeback in a sophomore year here. Um, that's kind of why I put him that high at 9. Um, a lot of the rankings and stuff like that. I mean, you can go from 5 to 12 and go back and forth with them, to be honest with you. Um, but I'm gonna put Harris at 9. There's Sam at 8. I'm gonna go another questionable one with Josh Jacobs at number 8. So I think they're gonna run him into the ground, and a lot part of your fantasy season, you're gonna have like a Nick Chubb kind of workhorse. Playoffs though, playoffs. I got a Jim Mora thing over there with the Colts there. Uh, I don't think Jacobs will be your running back. But regular season wise, I think he's in the top 10.
Yeah. I same thing. I had Jacobs at 8. Um, Shocking season last year. A lot of people probably got him in late rounds, and that was for them a league winner. And Josh Jacobs, he got so many attempts, and a lot of times he would produce with those attempts. With Derek Carr gone and Jimmy Garoppolo there, I see him probably getting the same amount of work, if not even more. Because it doesn't seem like Devontae will be as much in the picture with Jimmy Garoppolo. Because personally, I think Derek Carr would benefit the passing game more than Jimmy Garoppolo would for Devontae, which means Josh Jacobs will get more benefit in the run game. But I also do see him getting worked too hard. And as a running back, Josh Jacobs, I don't even know if he's feeling like he's getting paid enough. So would all these injuries to the body be worth it for him? I don't know. So we'll see. I've got a feeling it's going to not be the same year. He can only go down in my eyes. I got him at 8.
Yep, absolutely. Who do you got at 7?
7 is something that a lot of people aren't going to like, especially me since I had him last year. I'm going to go Derrick Henry at 7. Now, every year I feel like you hear people saying he's falling off, he's getting old, this is it, he's in the decline. Well, last year he finishes the number 2 back in half PPR, and I think that's right. I don't know. This year the Titans are even worse. In my I I don't see how they could be a better team. When they get down, they're passing the ball, and he's not going to be there to catch it. Now, last year he did have his best receiving back season of his career, but I don't see that happening again. And teams are learning how to stop Derrick Henry. You load the box. They don't have any receivers to help change that, scare any defenses into not loading the box. So you load the box and you shut down. I dealt with it last year with a couple games where I noticed that these teams were stopping him, that he was held to 4 points or whatever. I don't know. Just he became touchdown dependent, and that's not something you want with Derrick Henry because usually he'll give you the yards and a touchdown every game, and I'll get you 15 to 20 points. But some of the games he just wouldn't produce, so I got him at 7.
Absolutely. At 7, I got Davin Cook. Wherever he goes, he's gonna cook some kind of magic. Even if he goes to that graveyard. That's why I have Cook so low. That's why you had him so low. because we don't know where he's going. Um, and the injury prone that he's been with his whole career. But when he's on the field, he's one of the best running backs in the game. So Dalvin's going to go 7. Who do you got at 6, Sammy boy?
So at 6, I am gonna do Nick Chubb. Um, Nick Chubb is everything you look for in a running back, like a pure running running back, and that Browns offense this year, I feel like it's finally put together. Kareem Hunt's not there. Nick Chubb's going to get a whole lot of work. There is a little downside with Deshaun Watson running the ball. Take some carries away. In my opinion, Deshaun Watson is going to, do a good job getting it to his receivers. Sometimes I see him as a great quarterback, especially one to watch this year. But we'll get into that when we get into players to watch. But I think Nick Chubb is due for another good year. Honestly, maybe even better than last year. He has a high ceiling this year, and he's bust proof in my opinion. People say he is touchdown dependent, which is kind of true, but he'll get you the yards no matter what. That's a 10 to 12 points added a touchdown. He's booming every week. Then if he gets a touchdown, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I had him last year. I rode that to regular season championship until their coach started calling plays, and then it was pretty much over after that in the playoffs. Um, but I'm going to go Derrick Henry for a lot of things you just said. Um, he's very touchdown dependent the last couple of years. Year before, injury prone. So I'm going to go Henry at 6. So yeah, I mean, because he's a whole, no matter where you're doing it, no matter what you're doing it with. But I think he's going to be at 6th. Who you got for 5th?
5th is where I'm going to go. Bijan Robinson. Um, the guy is just athletic. The guy is good at football. The guy is somebody you want on your fantasy team. Um, I think he's gonna get touches. I am a little nervous with the amazing backfield that the Falcons have with Tyler Algier and Patterson. So maybe there'll be some split. There's some huge upside. There's some huge downside. I would stay away from him, but he is still top 5 in my opinion. Um, we've seen Saquon come in with the same amount of hype, and rookie year Saquon was somebody that won you fantasy championships, and Bijan Robinson has the potential to be that. He has the potential to be the number 1, number 2 back in the league this year, and I think some people will risk it, and some people will win because of him, and some people will lose because of him. So I got him at number 5.
Absolutely. This one's going to shock the world. It's going to shock you. Um, I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins at number 5. Yeah, I see that smile, Sammy boy. You know why I'm doing this? Because
Why?
that running offense is going to be better. It's going to be special. Okay, he's got a year under that Achilles injury. Okay, working really hard in that Ravens offense. I think he's going to be a top 5 running back this year because they have him slated all the way back in 12. He's going to be a great value pick for whoever takes him in the 3rd or 4th rounds. So, to me, the way he's going to be drafted, he's going to be a top 5 pick in this year's fantasy draft. Um, he's been very injury prone in the first couple of years. So, be cautious of what I just said, but I think the upside, the comeback, J.K. Dobbins would be one to watch. And I'm going to put him at number 5, being bold here.
So for number 4, um, I think this is a pretty safe pick. Saquon Barkley. Um, Saquon Barkley, he just doesn't seem as flashy to me as he used to. He seems like he's solidified himself as a top 5 back, but he doesn't seem like the top 3 guy anymore. Like, I don't know. He got a lot of attempts. And if he didn't get a lot of attempts in a game, it was like he put up average amount of points. The games where he had 20 attempts rushing the ball, he would give you 30 fantasy points, whatever it was. And, you know, the Giants seem like they're starting to build a team up. And Daniel Jones, I don't know if he's the guy I want to center that around, but it's too late, and they did. So now with Saquon, you know, not getting paid. They got the franchise tag on him, and it seems like there's a potential holdout. And I hate those situations. So he is dangerous, but only for that reason. Other than that, he seems to be always a safe, bust-proof top 5 back. But I honestly don't see him as somebody I want to reach for. If I'm if I've got better options on the table, like a hot elite receiver, top 3 receiver, a top 3 back that I can grab, I'm going to get those guys over him in the draft.
Absolutely. We're on the same kind of knowledge stream here after that absolute horrible pick I just did with the 5th pick overall. Uh, I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley as well, just for a lot of what you said already, Sam. Just because the injury prone of the years, not so explosive, had a great year last year. Um, but the quarterback has a lot to do with stuff. And Daniel Jones, even though he had a good year this year, he's not shown it. Okay. He showed that he's the dollar store version of Eli Manning, though, throughout his career. So, uh, no faith in Danny Dimes or Saquon would be a lot higher on my list. But I'm going to go 4th overall. And then 3rd, I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor. Um, I think just the way the Colts kind of did in the offseason, getting a running quarterback in Richardson, it's going to be electric because I think they're going to kind of more towards the Lamar Jackson kind of offense with Richardson. And then I think Taylor's going to benefit and get hurt at the same time in fantasy. So I'm going to put him 3. Uh, I still think he's going to be a risky pick if you're going to pick him 1 or 2 in your fantasy draft. If you get him in the middle part of the round in the first round, I think you're going to eat a lot with Jonathan Taylor. But if you get him in that first 2, 3, 4 kind of range, I think you're going to be SOL, my friend. But if you get him like in that 6th kind of range there, I think you're going to eat big time with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, for me at 3, I had Austin Eckler. Obviously finished with an amazing season. I think I was wrong with Derrick Henry. I think it was Austin Eckler at 1. Honestly, I don't remember the rankings much from last year, but I know Austin Eckler was top 2 for sure, I think. So, um, Austin Eckler, I have him at 3. He isn't, in my opinion, this could sound dumb to some people, but just go watch football. He isn't a very good. I mean, he's good, but he's just a good running back in the NFL. Like, he's nothing special. But in fantasy, he's amazing. He gets receptions like none other. He piles on the touchdowns, but they're not flashy plays. He's not. He doesn't seem like somebody like Saquon Barkley or Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry, like these amazing elite running backs that you notice on the field that they do something special. Instead, Austin Eckler just wrecks on the fantasy points. He gets the receptions, the yards, and the touchdowns in a normal way. Now, with the amount of targets he gets, that seems to dictate how he does in fantasy. Um, Still, he gets the targets, so I feel like it's nothing to worry about. But there was a lot of times he'd be taken out last year for Palmer. I think that's their backup, and I don't know. I think teams are starting to realize you don't pay running backs if you want to win the Super Bowl. You don't pay them too much money. There hasn't been an all-star running back win a Super Bowl in a long time, like 10 years. I don't
Mhm.
remember. The only one I can really think of is Emmitt Smith, but Austin Eckler he's a really safe pick, and I really like him, but I only have him at 3, not 2, because going into my 2 is where I have Jonathan Taylor. Um, I think he's gonna have a bounce back year. Obviously, you can look at last year and say I don't like him anymore. Screw Jonathan Taylor. I'm never picking him again. But I like him for the reason that the Colts are going to use him better. He's had this time to heal. There's been reports of he's back to full health. I wouldn't consider him injury prone only because he had one injury. I feel like that has been the same injury that he was just nursing through the whole time. And injury prone to me is somebody that's repeatedly gotten injuries, whether that be like different injuries and stuff like that. But for me, it was just that Jonathan Taylor suffered one that kind of hindered him the whole season. It wasn't just he kept getting hurt type deal. It was he suffered one and it ruined his season. Whether he played or not, it just still ruined him. And if you're looking at Najee Harris, he's the same thing with Jonathan Taylor. I think they're both due for good years. Najee Harris is a bit more risky, but Jonathan Taylor is on a team that'll benefit him for fantasy at least.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go Eckler. We just kind of flip flopped that 2 and 3.
Yeah.
For a lot of what you just said. The reason why I didn't pick as a Colts fan Taylor a little bit more because Richardson's not proven. And he's most
Yeah.
likely going to be your starter or Gardner Minshew. If it's Minshew, then Taylor might be number one on this list. Just because the way James Robinson balled out that year under Minshew when he was a Jag for a little bit there. Um, but Eckler, the best quarterback in that top three with Justin Herbert. I think he takes a leap and bounds because a lot of his injury with that rib cage missed a lot of the year. And Eckler still was in the top two running backs last year, with his quarterback being gone for quite a few kind of snaps mentally and physically with that rib injury, not full strength. Herbert's full strength this year. And this game is going towards the slot backs. It's going towards the passing, especially in fantasy. That's kind of where you want your value to be at. Kind of like Eckler, a McCaffrey that we're probably going to pick number one. And I think Eckler kind of has a similar game as McCaffrey does. And that's kind of why I'm picking him at 2. Like you said, a safe pick and a safe first, second to third pick. Um, with me, as you know, Sam, there's nothing safe about that top 3 pick. Um, like let's just say Le'Veon Bell last time, or numerous other picks, either traded in the first week or didn't play the rest of the year or stuff like that. So I'm a little hesitant on the first 2, 3 picks. But like you said, Eckler, safety as it gets. Uh, and then speaking of a safety valve for you guys at the number 1 pick, okay, depending what his quarterback situation is, I'm going to go Christian McCaffrey for a lot of what I just said with Eckler. Just reliable and just great in that slot situation. And is injury prone that you saw at Carolina, you still got Debo, you still got the running back behind him who's really good, and Elijah Mitchell. So you still got those factors that's going to take wear and tear off of McCaffrey. That's going to benefit you in fantasy throughout the year. So I'm going to say Christian McCaffrey is my number one. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey. Not much to talk about there for me. He's just the best, and um, can't get much better than him, especially in fantasy. So, Christian McCaffrey.
Absolutely. So who's your sleepers in the late rounds to kind of go get to win a fantasy championship here at that very important running back spot?
So, at my number 5, I have a combo sleeper. At the number 5 spot, it's both Denver Broncos running backs, Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine. So I put them both there because honestly, I don't know which one I want to trust. Javonte Williams still recovering from his um, last season injury. So Javonte Williams, in my opinion, is the better back. I don't know what will happen throughout the season as Javonte Williams isn't there, but with the addition of Sean Payton as the coach, we saw what he could do with Alvin Kamara. Both of those backs can go out and catch the ball just like Alvin Kamara, especially Javonte Williams. So I see both of those backs being a sleeper pick and somebody you can get in the late round. Now you have to take a gamble on which one to get. Obviously, P. Ryan is going to start the season for you. So if you're looking to start somebody, P. Ryan might be the guy. Javonte Williams, he could be the guy that takes over later. Or worst case scenario is they become a committee when Javante's back, and neither of them are good. But I would just those are two guys I'd watch reports on, see how practice is going, and see who I'd rather have on my team.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with a kind of a shocker with this one. I'm going to go Alvin Kamara with Derek Carr's arrival. I'm going to go Alvin Kamara because with that allegation ahead of you, you might want to stay clear. So you might have the same thing you had last year where we talk about the allegations throughout this fantasy summer, and then he starts all 16 games with a better quarterback and Mr. Carr. Um, Carr gives me a little bit of Breeze vibes, you know what I'm saying? And I think he'll do magic with Kamara. So I'm going to put him at number 5, but the allegations is why Kamara's on this list and not on the top 10 list.
So for me, I feel like Kamara is a bit more dangerous this year than last year because I believe the trial has started or it starts maybe in July. I don't remember, but that's gonna come to an end. I feel like, and once the trial's over, it's almost a guaranteed at least 6 week suspension. I think that'll probably happen to start the season, but you can get him after the 6 week, like a DeAndre Hopkins type deal from this past year. And also another thing I'm really scared about with him is, well, one, the fact that last year he did not do anything. I had him and I hated him. But Jamal Williams is there. Jamal Williams is a back that's going to steal a lot of touchdowns. I mean, we saw how he did last year, and he was a touchdown machine, but they're all the goal line. They're going to get to the goal line, and it's not going to be Alvin Kamara's ball. That's not something I like to have as a fantasy owner. Number 4, sleeper. I think this is where I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins.
Uh,
Now, I know you had him in your top 10, but I see J.K. Dobbins as injury prone. The Ravens, they run the ball, but everything kind of filters through Lamar. Now, Lamar will create openings for Dobbins, and I see Dobbins as a good back and definitely somebody when I say sleeper with him, the reason I say sleeper is because he's not a name you really mentioned last year, and he's probably not a lot on a lot of people's radars this year. He's not on mine, but he's somebody that I'm gonna maybe look out for and keep updated, researching him and checking out how his practices are going, how he's dealt with the injury. Because when somebody is injured like him, and like Javonte Williams, they're I kind of stay clear of them. I feel like they lose a step. And actually, we saw
Right.
J.K. Dobbins last year. He looked like he lost a step. He didn't look as fast, and I don't know. I see him as a sleeper. If you can get him past his ADP, I think that's better. I personally wouldn't grab him. I see a lot of people have him. Looks like ranked as the 16 running back. I agree. I think there's probably some others even after him in the rankings that are better than him. But that's my number 4 sleeper.
Absolutely. And I like the Saints combo. Okay. Jamar Williams is my number 4. You saw what he did in Detroit. And with that suspension, you're going to eat for the first 6 weeks with Williams. And then he possibly will eat again with him with the goal line stuff, with him being a vulture to Kamara. I'm going to put Williams at 4. I think it'll be a nice tandem, kind of like what they had with Ingram and Kamara back in Breeze's later days.
At 3, I'm gonna go Miles Sanders. Um, Personally, I think he's a great back. Now he said many times like, "Don't draft me in fantasy. I don't care about fantasy. I care about winning." But now he's going to a depleted Carolina team. Besides obviously Bryce Young, but Carolina just doesn't have a supporting cast. It's Bryce Young and the Miles Sanders show. Um, so I see him getting a lot of attempts, especially with a young quarterback. The young quarterback's going to do a lot of dump offs probably and handoffs and things like that. I don't see him, throwing the ball 50 times or whatever. So Miles Sanders seems like a sleeper to me. He did great in Philly. He was a good fit there, but obviously they moved on, and there would be many weeks where he would get you great, RB2, RB1 numbers. So I think Miles Sanders for me is a good sleeper.
Absolutely. Um, so I had a brain fart. I'm gonna switch J.K. Dobbins with my number 5 with Nick Chubb. Forgot about Chubb for a second there. Don't know how I forgot about Chubb. He almost won me the league last year. Um, but I'm gonna switch him, and I'm gonna move down J.K. Dobbins with my third with my sleeper, just because, again, like you said, he's been injury prone. A lot of what I said when he was in the top 5. Um, but man, I'm gonna get roasted for that one. Um, but that's how we get numbers there, Salmon Boy. That's how we get numbers. Okay. But 3, J.K. Dobbins. 2, I'm going Kenneth Walker for the Seahawks, just because I'm a little wary of Geno Smith having that career year last year. I'm going to go Kenneth Walker as my second overall sleeper in this draft.
I've got DeAndre Swift here. To me, DeAndre Swift is an amazing receiving back, and he'll produce points. I think he's injury prone. It's dangerous to pick him, but especially in a great team like Philly, I think he's got a lot of options here and a lot of potential to do good. He does have, can I think of his name? The Seahawks back is there now.
Penny.
Rashad Penny's there. So with him coming back from injury, it's probably going to be a committee. We're not going to see crazy attempts by DeAndre Swift, but with Austin Eckler, it's not like he gets a crazy amount of rushing attempts. But I think with Austin Eckler, he's going to get a lot more receiving attempts than DeAndre Swift will. But DeAndre Swift for me is a really safe flex option. Potential RB2 numbers and a high ceiling, in my opinion. So that's my number 2 guy.
Absolutely. My number 1, Swift. I just like him with that pairing with Jalen Hurts. Um, Jared Goff, good quarterback, solid, kind of average quarterback after his Ram days. Gets you a couple wins each year. Kind of like a Matthew Stafford kind of player. So they traded one and got another one at Detroit. Um, you upgrade that quarterback position, and Swift is kind of similar to the running backs that do well in fantasy. As long as he can stay healthy. You got Penny, who's also been very injury prone in his whole career. So I think Swift takes it big time. And I think Miles is probably just outside of that top 10 range. To be honest with you, with being at Carolina, with Bryce Young, it's going to look a lot different. Another one, honorable mention, is David Montgomery going to Detroit. I think that would be a solid pickup for them. And kind of just run and gun with Goff. But my number 1 for sleepers has to be Swift.
For me, my number 1 sleeper is Cam Akers. We've seen him do good before. Last season, obviously, he didn't get it was weird. He didn't get the attempts even. Never even got the ball. Something was going on there, the Rams. But at the end of the season, he did. And we saw what Cam Akers that we knew, and somebody that is going to do good. This year, Sean McVay's saying he's looking like the center of the offense. The guy that's going to get the rushing attempts, the guy who's going to be their RB1. And to me, that's a high ceiling with Matt Stafford back, Cooper Kupp playing. I think that offense could be a lot more than what it was last year. So I see Cam Akers, who would be a focal point of that offense, being a big sleeper.
Absolutely. I like that pick. I like it a lot there, Sam. But who and what position are we picking next week for the ATM Bros here at Regan Corner Sports Network?
I think we're going to go wide receiver.
Okay, nice. So go check that out next week here live next Tuesday at 7 as we do our thing here, because we're so good we don't need a time machine here with our picks. Okay, and signing out. Thank you to Sam the Hammer for being our co-host for this year and ATM Bros here